In today's episode, we make some storage racks for our tableware and our food and drinks that we made in previous episodes. So our supplies for this one are pretty similar to an old video. We're going to use a mini Jenga block from the Dollar Tree, some popsicle sticks or craft sticks, a tongue depressor or medium-sized craft stick, some coffee sticks, and a barbecue skewer, followed by a couple of matches. So we're going to start things off by making the back of the storage shelves, and I cut some 2-inch lengths on the popsicle sticks and coffee sticks. Now, I did have a couple of pieces left over from the coffee sticks. We're going to save these and use them a little bit later in the video. So to start things off, we're going to create a back panel. Now, the Jenga blocks are, by some weird coincidence, 5 popsicle sticks wide. So we're going to essentially just glue these all together into a 5 wide panel for the popsicle sticks, and then a 2 wide panel for the coffee sticks. And then we're going to do the coffee stick one twice. That's going to create a back panel with the popsicle sticks, and 2 side panels with the coffee sticks. Now, if you watched my bookshelves video, this is going to be very similar to that. Now, once everything is glued together, we're going to take a couple of scrap pieces, and then wiping away any of the extra glue, just to kind of make sure it doesn't stick to the scrap pieces. We are going to use them as kind of a base to clamp everything together, to let it kind of hold its position and not come apart. Now, I use clamps most of the time, but if you don't have any, you can use these little binder clips. They're pretty cheap, very easy to get a hold of. You can get them at like an office store, or sometimes you find the good ones at the Dollar Tree. So now for the bottom shelf, I wanted this to be a little bit higher of a bottom shelf, so we're going to cut a section of the medium craft stick and then glue it to what we're going to call the top of the Jenga block. Now this one has a little bit of a curve to it, so I'm facing the curve up just a little bit, just to kind of make things a little bit nicer. Alright, so now that that's dried, we're going to add some leg supports. Now I cut the barbecue skewer to fit underneath the bottom shelf here, and we're going to just kind of stick them in place, but I want the leg supports to be a little pronounced, so we're going to have them sticking out so that they are kind of exaggerated, elongated supports. And a quick wipe away of any of the extra glue, and then we will just kind of set this aside to dry. Alright, so now that that's reasonably dry and it's not going to come apart too easily, we're going to add some extra details. I cut one of the matchsticks to have these little 45-degree cuts, and with a little bit of wood glue applied to it, I'm just going to slot it in place to kind of give the impression that the bottom shelf is a little bit more supported. So as you might have guessed from some of my previous videos, I love adding extra details like this. They really help catch the eye and add extra depth to the build. Alright, so a quick wipe away of the extra glue, and then we will set this aside to dry. Okay, all of our pieces are now dried, so it's time to attach the panels. So what we're going to do is apply a decent amount of glue to the back of the Jenga block, and then we will stick the back panel on. Now, this can get a little fiddly. It's sometimes kind of difficult to get everything to glue together without things kind of breaking free. So kind of keep that in mind. As you can see, the back piece already fell off as I'm trying to attach the first side piece. Now when you're putting these on, you want them to all kind of be flush on the bottom so that everything sits right on the table and doesn't wobble. Once everything is glued on, just kind of press it down onto the table, and that will help line everything up with the bottom of the piece. Okay, so now that this is dry, we can start by adding our middle shelves. Now, I've already cut this piece to kind of fit flush, so what we're going to do now is decide how tall we want it. Now, I want this shelf to have a space for the bottles that we made, so we're going to space our shelf accordingly. So using a quick measurement and the grid on my mat here, I'm going to just kind of mark a spot on the inside of the side supports, and this is going to be our guide for where we glue in our shelf. Now, you want these shelves to be a little snug, that way the tension kind of holds everything in place while they're drying and the glue is setting. If you can't get them to fit kind of flush, then a quick clamp or a rubber band will help do the trick. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So now we're going to start making the framework. So to do that, we're going to use some more of our matchsticks. Now, by coincidence, matchsticks are just over 2 inches in length, so all we really need to do is cut the match head off of these ones. And then a quick line of glue along the side. And there we go. Quick, simple, easy framework. And once this dries, it'll also help to reinforce everything, and the build will be a lot stronger. So once we've wiped away all the excess glue for that, we're going to add a extra support for the middle shelf here. Now, most Jenga blocks are roughly the same length, so what we're going to do is use an extra one to kind of mark as a guide for our shelf support, and then a little bit of glue along the front edge, and we can just kind of slot that in. Okay, now this ended up being just a hair bit long, so off camera I do cut this and trim it down to fit a little bit nicer. So now we're going to make some side details, and using the extra scrap bits that we had left over from our coffee stick, I'm going to cut it down to just kind of simply cut it in half, shave down the edges so that everything looks kind of neat and flush. This will give us a nice flat support that will fit in on our side pieces. Now I'm going to put these in so that there's one at every shelf level as well as the top and bottom. So this will add just a little bit of extra detailing on the side to kind of help give the impression of a reinforced shelving unit. Okay, that looks really nice. So now it's time to add our back supports. So using another couple chunks of the barbecue skewer, we're going to just glue those along the edges of the back, and this needs to line up flush with the pieces that we just glued on the side. That way it gives the impression that the bracing is framed in between the front and back supports. Alright, and now for some final detailing, we're going to add some matchsticks in between the two back support pieces to again give that impression of reinforced supported shelving. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now we need to create a little bit of final detailing on the front to give a little bit more implied support for the front and bottom shelf. So using a couple of extra pieces of matchstick, I'm just going to cut off a couple of simple little straight lengths, and then trim a couple of them to have some angles. So what we've got is one piece of wood that will go along the shelf itself, and then one piece that's angled that will fit underneath it. There we go. Quick, simple detail. So now to create some keg storage. I want this to kind of mimic a medieval keg stand or keg rack that you see in a lot of video games and media. So we're just going to take a Jenga block and a couple pieces of barbecue skewer, and this is going to just be a quick, simple little thing. Now I did want a little bit of extra reinforcement, mostly so that nothing breaks off during handling and gameplay. So I'm going to reinforce the two end caps here with a small piece of matchstick. So once those are in place, we can clean up our glue, give a quick test fit of the kegs, and once everything looks good, we can take all of our pieces outside to give them a base coat in brown. Alright, so once the base coat is dry, I'm going to do a decently heavy overbrush of raw sienna. This is going to help bring out our wood grain and our wood lines. Then I'm going to give a weathering effect using some warm gray. This will help signify that everything is being used constantly. So now to decorate and dress the shelves, I'm going to take our wine bottles and some of our bits of food, dip the bottoms into a little bit of Mod Podge, and then with a pair of tweezers, just slowly and carefully slot everything into where I want them. Now, I want these shelves to look a little bit cluttered because I don't like shelving with like foodstuffs and things like this that look empty. A lot of times in video games I get annoyed and it kind of feels like it breaks immersion for me when the shelves are pretty bare and only have like one or two things in a lived-in space. Now for these little ale bottles, I'm actually using super glue because of the rounded bottom. They don't really stand upright all that easily. So the super glue will help lock them in place faster. And just like that, a shelf for our food and drink. So using another shelf, I made some quick little stacks of plates, just 4 or 5 of the plates just stacked on top of each other with super glue, and then a couple of little stacks of bowls. And these are all held together with super glue, and then the Mod Podge, and stick them onto the shelves. This will be a nice little storage unit for some of our dishes and things like that. Now to create kind of like a drink station, I put some Mod Podge on one of the kegs and then just kind of wedge fit it into place. And then using some super glue, we can start putting all of our mugs in. Then for the keg storage, it's pretty simple. We're going to do a little bit of Mod Podge on the bottom of the kegs, and then just kind of put them into the rack and stack them on top of each other. Once this dries, it'll be very solid and won't come apart at all. Alright, so I think that's going to be it for today, and it's time for a little story. As the adventure finishes, your party meets at the tavern to divide up the remaining spoils. A book, a couple of scrolls, and an odd potion. As you're talking over how to divide the things up, you realize that the tavern has grown eerily quiet. With the sound of swords and daggers being drawn from their scabbards, you realize the rest of the patrons are eyeing your treasure with lustful eyes. There's a clear path to the door. Do you run, or do you fight? Alright everyone, that's going to be it for today. Next time, tune in and I'll show you how to make your terrain setup a lot easier with these quick set tables and chairs for our tavern setting. These are going to be quick and easy to do, going to be a nice short video next time. So thank you all for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe for future content, comment in the comments section, and we will see everyone next episode.